Hey everybody, welcome to the Asylum. And from our last Playday part 1, we had made a clipboard, which is this. I'm going to take this off because I just put that on there so you guys could see how it worked. I don't know what I'm going to put on there yet. And then we also made a file to use as a pocket. And it's going to go on our page kind of like this, I think. All right, and this is kind of like a tag and a pocket. But I need to do something with the background first. Oh, and then we also have a room key that we need to put the room number on. And I have a few ideas, and I'm not going to do them on the page in case I mess up. Yes, I worry about that. So I think what I'm going to do is do it on a separate piece of paper that I can just glue on here, whichever one I like. So I have gel prints. I think you guys might remember this from the trash talk. So I have this that I kind of like, along with some wallpaper. This is real wallpaper, vintage. And then I also kind of want just solid paint, like it's a wall, okay, with peeling paint. So I want to figure out how to do that. And even though it's going to be covered up mostly, this area though, when you take clipboard out, you will be able to see it. So I do want to kind of do something there. All right, but like I said, I have some options and I'm going to do them on separate pieces of paper. And then whichever one works out, I guess, the best, I'll glue it to here. And then also, because I want to add the key like a charm, if I do it on a separate piece and I use it, I may just use a brad or something and just put it through the page and then glue it all down together so it doesn't come out on this side. But then again, I might just do the eyelet also. I'm not sure yet. Okay, so that's the direction I'm heading for today. And let's see how it goes. All right. The rest of this is just going to be music and probably a little bit of process with a little voiceover. Okay, you know how I roll. I was about to start the collage, decollage process with some stick glue. And I said, well, you know what, let me put a scrap piece of paper underneath so I don't get glue everywhere. And so then I looked under my scraps and I found my collage, decollage that I made on a previous Asylum video. I thought, well, this might be good enough for the background already. It's ready to go. So I'm gonna look at it. I'm gonna see what my clipboard and file look like on it. And I think, you know what, this works. And it's already made. It's using up your old scraps. So I cut it to size. But when placing it next to the door, it didn't match. So now I'm just adding some colors that are on the door to this wall. Kind of make the colors match a little bit more, make it more cohesive. And I'm just using a brayer and my gel plate, and that's terracotta. And now I'm just looking for a scrap paper to clean off my gel plate, because that would be a cool future piece, possibly. And just looking for a color, and I kind of want to use dark brown, but I didn't want to use up the last bit of my Arteza brand. So I'm looking in my drawer where I have some other bigger bottles of paint, and I come up, I think it's burnt umber or something, but it's a darker brown, and so I'm going to use that just to clean off the gel plate. And then upon looking at it, I'm like, well, you know what? I probably could use some of that brown on my page, on my background. So with what's left on the brayer, I just go over my background again. All right, so while the gel plate dries, I am looking at my background and trying to make sure it still looks pretty cohesive to the door. You can see the same color variations are in there. And now I just want to kind of see what it's going to look like with everything on it. And I decide, you know what, I need to cut it down. It's kind of big. So I'm going to cut it to the size of the page. All right, now that it's on size, I'm going to use this gel stick from King Art. I got these on Amazon. And I'm going to go around the edges. Now the edges are already kind of dark because I did go over it originally with the scorched timber. But then I realized, you know, this background has like a glossy cover over it, like I sealed it with a Mod Podge. So I'm going to use the gel stick because I know that'll stay and eventually won't come off like the ink will. The Distress Oxide won't stay or get dry, so I'm just rubbing in the gel stick instead. And then of course, might as well do all the edges in case anything sticks out where after I glue everything down, it'll cover it up. And I also end up doing the door around the edges of the door also. Just to kind of make everything cohesive. And a lot of times you don't figure this out until as you go. So it's okay to keep improving or adding on to existing pieces and pages. All right, so now it's time to add the room number to our key tab. And I found these in my scraps. Again, might as well use what you have if you have it. And I'm going to start by painting the numbers black using just black gesso. Okay, so now I'm going to work on the outside of the tab, the metal part. And of course, I need to grunge it up and make it look kind of rusty. So I'm using a dark brown acrylic and then also the terracotta. And the dark brown is still wet, so it's kind of blending in some spots, which I don't mind. And then while this is still wet with the paint, I'm going to take the Rusty Hinge embossing glaze, put that over it, and heat that up. Alright, and so now I am just distressing the numbers a little bit because they're too new looking. and dark black. So I'm just sanding them a little bit around the edges. And just using the glitter glue to glue them on. Alright, so now I want to find the chain that I'm going to use to hook it all onto the page. I took off the original tab clip that was on there because it was too small, so I think I'm going to use a chain. And I opt for the simpler one because I don't want it to be too bulky. And then I realize if I put it on like this, that the key gets covered up. Then I put the key to the front, and I realize, well, then the number gets covered up. So you'll see me kind of trying to figure out how I'm going to do this to where the room number and the key are displayed. And I try this whole chain wrap around separately around the key twice, all this kind of stuff, but in the end I figured it out, and you'll see that later. But this is our first page, so this is what we have so far for our background. And now I want to try to figure out, and this is all, I'm just figuring it out as I go. I'm trying to figure out a process to make the peeled paint look, kind of like chipped and peeled paint look. So I was thinking of using that gel print as my background, and then now I'm doing the paint part. So this would be the color that I want. Kind of like that. I think this is a sage green or seafoam green or something like that. But it's that hospital wall color, old school. And I did it on deli paper because I wanted just a thin coat. And I'm using the matte medium. I just glued it down and let it dry and peeled it back off. And as you see, not a lot stuck to it. So I was like, well, and I let it dry too, but I don't know if it's the weather today or what, but that didn't work. So then I'm like, well, let me just glue what I have back using a glue stick to see how that works. So now I'm using the glue stick and I'm taking all my pieces and putting them back on. Let that dry. And then I come back and peel that off. And again, pieces are coming off pretty much, a few pieces are staying, but not much, as you see. I'm like, okay, let's try the thrift store glue, Fabric Fusion. So dot some of them on, scatter it around here and there. Take my remaining pieces and stick them back on. And I let that dry. Come back and start peeling this off. And as you see, that didn't work too well either. So then I'm like, okay, what do I have left? I have the 3-in-1 glue, so let's try that one. And maybe it's the acrylic coating, I don't know. because it works on other when I use acrylic before, so I'm really not sure what was going on here, but I'm not one to give up. So then I just use 3-in-1, stick down my remnants, and gonna let that dry. And let's see what this does. Come back, and again, still not sticking to the paper. And trust me, I went and sat on the couch and let it do its thing. I was patient. So, but I'm not one to give up, so I decided, well, you know what, I'm gonna see what this looks like. Took my my background, but I didn't use this background that you see here in the picture. I ended up cutting another background off of that collage, decollage piece that I had left over. And then I'm going to take all these little bits, and you see I'm just tearing up, making them smaller. But I'm going to take all of these bits and glue them, hand glue them all down onto a piece similar to the one that's in the picture now. I liked that background, so I didn't want to take a chance of ruining it. So that's why I made another piece. But here I'm just kind of seeing what would it look like if I just took all these and glued it down. So that's what I'm doing here. Because as you see, the little pieces are already kind of curling up, which I like that look. So I was like, well, I just put a little bit of glue on the back of them and let the natural curl just stick up like that. So I'm just experimenting. I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go for it. But I did do it on a separate background, not this background. And this is the result. Sorry, it's kind of dark. I didn't have the light on when I took the picture. So now I'm like, you know what? That was a lot of work. There's got to be an easier way. So now I'm making another thin layer of paint, which is what I'll call that on the deli paper. And that's another thin background. So that background is just gel paint and all that kind of stuff. And now here I'm just taking my blade, just making cuts into the paint, let's call it. So yeah, just making cuts. And then I'm going to just kind of distress it. Tearing it, crinkling it, and then just put a layer of glue stick down. And then just kind of dab it down in places. Dab and peel back, dab and peel back, that's what I'm doing. The glue kind of stayed wet for a while, so I could maneuver the cuts and everything the way I wanted. And I did like this one too, the end result on this, and it was easier than having to take a lot of little pieces and gluing them down. But this is experimenting, and I think I'll still toy around with this process to try to perfect it even more. And now I'm just cutting it to the size of the page. I'm using the original background that I originally was going to use, the good one, as my pattern. But it's just easier to see the page size so I know what I'm working with here. And then I'm just going to continue to distress it. And then I take my brown VersaFine ink pad and I'm just adding some grunge to the top of it. Just rubbing it up, rubbing it gently across the top. And then taking the same gel stick and then darkening the edges and throughout the page. Again, just making it grungy. And here I'm just trying to show the little pieces that are peeled up. You can see them sticking up if you look at it from the side. So let's see what it looks like next to our door. I like it. I like the color. Yeah. Now I'm showing you that I used super glue and I just glued the little tab part onto the key, just at one little point, just so that it wouldn't move. And then I also add some cut up pieces of fax paper that I got at a thrift store. And then now I'm going to stamp on it with white ink. Semi-white because my pad's kind of dirty, but and you're like, white on white, what does that do? Well, when you heat up fax paper, it does this. So that's why I did that. I like that look. And then now I'm just going to add some lines. Same process, using the white ink pad. And then I decided, I need some doctor scribbles on there, so I take my white gel pen and scribble some doctor notes. And then I heat this up with my heat gun. And I like it. I like that look. We have our key, our clipboard, our file, pocket, and now I just need to glue my peeled, painted, chipped wall onto the page. And although I like the aesthetics of the original painted one, the one that I took all the remnants and glued them back onto the piece, went ahead and went with this one because it is thinner. And it's going to be mostly covered up by the clipboard and the file anyway. And because I feel like I made up this process, I want to keep it in my journal, and I'll write about it. And then I'm also going to keep trying to perfect it. But for first time, I think it looks pretty cool. Alright, so now we're going to glue down our pocket. And now we need to add the eyelet. Sorry, off the page there. But yeah, we'll add the eyelet, and then I can put the keychain with the tab through there. And for the sake of a picture, I did put some papers inside the file, but I think I still want to add something art related, like in the future if we do something, a piece of art or something, I want to kind of add it into that pocket, possibly. I don't know yet. But yeah, so here we're adding the key, and then we're just done. I don't know why I was having such a struggle with that. But there's our peeled painted wall, our clipboard, our file folder pocket, and that's our page. We're done for today. But stick around to the end so you can see everyone's doors that they've made so far. And if you're going to join us or you want to do something, just use the hashtag so I can see it and I can include it in my future videos. Thanks everyone for playing, and thanks for joining me today. I appreciate you guys as always. And with that, I will sign off and say tschüss and enjoy these pictures.